Hey guys, Annette here. This video is dedicated to Heather at the Needy Homesteader. She cans and I am a canner, and I am going to make some mulled cider jelly, so I thought I'd turn on the camera and show you guys all how I'm going to do that. It's a little bit different for me making a video on it because I don't usually like set everything all up like this before I can, but if you guys like it, I'll do some more videos like this. So the mulled cider jelly recipe comes from Food in Jars. Most of the recipes in here, like it says, are preserving in small batches year-round. So this makes a pretty small amount of jelly. The recipe says it's going to make 4 half pints. I do have a little 4-ounce jar boiling away too, so that in case there's a little extra, I have another jar. The ingredients are the zest of 1 orange, but I only had little mandarin oranges, so I just did 2 of those. And then there's 2 teaspoons ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon ground ginger, a half a teaspoon grated nutmeg, and a half a teaspoon cloves. And then I also added a 1/4 of a teaspoon of allspice, because when I make my mulled cider to drink, I put allspice berries in it. So I added a little something extra to the recipe. You're going to need pectin. This is Ball Real Fruit Plastic Pectin. The recipe calls for 1 box, but if you look at the back of the pectin, it'll tell you that 6 tablespoons equals 1 box. So I'll be using 6 tablespoons. You're going to need apple cider. It says fresh pressed in the recipe. I don't have access to that, so we're just using bottled from the store. It is 100% juice with nothing added. It's just apple cider. And then you're going to need lids. A lot of people have really bad-mouthed the Mainstays canning lids, and I would agree with them, except that now they're made in the USA and they're different than they used to be. When they were made in China, they were terrible. They didn't seal. I never used them. When they started making them in the US, I decided to get a box and try them because they are cheaper than the Ball lids. These made in the USA ones work fantastic. So if you see them at your Walmart and you're a canner, go ahead and try a box and see what you think. But I actually really like them, and so when they have them available, I buy these instead of the Ball ones just to save a little money. At my Walmart, they don't have wide mouth ones though, so I don't know if they make wide mouth ones or not, but they do make the regular mouth ones, so I get those. And then you're going to need 3 cups of sugar. It's nice to have it pre-measured out so that when it comes time, you don't have to be measuring. And there's the 4 cups of cider. The jars back here, spot, are boiling. I'm going to turn those down, actually. Keep them simmering so that they're nice and sterile when we go to use them when the jelly is done. And then you're going to need some jar lifters. These are the ones that Ball makes. These ones are really nice. I used to have the cheap ones that they made, and they fell apart. And so I contacted the Ball company, and they actually gave me a coupon to get these for free. So these ones work really nice. They have a little like spring action, and they're much better made than the cheap pair. So, you know, in the long run, I think that the cheaper ones are a waste of money because they just fall apart. You're going to need your lids. Mine are in some warm water right here, and the rings. And then you're going to need a funnel. Ball makes these, a bunch of companies make these. Heather from the Needy Homesteader uses the Progressive brand, which is really nice, but I just have the like cheap little one. It works for me. And then you're going to need a spoon, a whisk, and a ladle. Ladle for ladling the jelly when it's finished. I really like this rubber spatula style spoon. It's actually silicone, because it scrapes every little bit of jelly out of the pot, which I like. And then silicone whisk to whisk the pectin and the sugar into the jelly. And then the pan that you want to use, you want to make sure you have a non-reactive pan. So this is a stainless steel, but you can also use like an enamel coated cast iron. but this is the one I almost always use for my jelly. So we'll get started in just a second here. Alright, so I measured out the pectin because I am the camera woman. I have to keep, I don't have like a tripod or anything. This is my phone, so I pre-measured that out so I could keep my hand on the phone and try and do this one-handed. So first we're going to take the apple juice and we're going to pour it into the pot. And then we're going to sprinkle the pectin over the top. The recipe in this book tells you to do it a little bit differently. It tells you to mix the pectin into the sugar, and I never make my jam or jelly like that and to like to add it all at once. That's not the directions that are on the pectin. So I'm going to go with the way the pectin says to do it and put the pectin into the liquid first. You're going to bring this up to a rolling boil that can't be stirred down for 1 minute. And then you add the sugar, and then you bring it back up to a boil that can't be stirred down for another minute. And then your jelly is done. So there's the pectin mixed in there. I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat on. I always mix in the pectin before I turn the heat on. That way it doesn't clump up at all. And I set mine on kind of a medium-high heat to start because you want to get it to a good rolling boil. And I'm going to add the zest. Oops, sorry, that was kind of loud. I'll get the rest out in a minute. And all the seasonings are in there. Kind of stuck to the bowl, so give me 1 second and I'll show you guys what it looks like once I have all of the spices and the zest stirred in. Alright, so the spices will incorporate more once this starts to get a little bit warmer. I did go ahead, you can kind of see it floating in there. I added a little pat of butter. That helps with foaming. When you're boiling at a rapid boil, it tends to foam up. And if you didn't put a little pat of butter in there, you'd have to skim the foam off before you canned it. It's basically just for appearances, though. The foam won't hurt anything. You could put it in your jar and can it, but it doesn't look pretty in the jar, so they recommend that you skim it off. I always use the butter. We don't have any dairy allergies or anything in my family, and it's just a tiny little amount, about a teaspoon. And it just, I think it's the oil in it, it just breaks the surface tension and keeps it from getting so foamy while it's boiling. So when this comes up to a rapid boil, I will show you guys what that looks like. Alright, we are now at a rolling boil that cannot be stirred down, and we are going to boil this for 1 minute. Then we're going to turn the heat down. And we are going to add the sugar and then repeat this process. Bring it back up to a rolling boil that cannot be stirred down. It's kind of hard to see because all the steam that's coming off the pan, but just gently stir it so that nothing's sticking to the bottom of the pan and getting burnt on. And might as well just leave the camera on. It's only a minute. It's not that long. I went ahead and I put the jar funnel in the pot of boiling water with the jars so that it can get sterilized too. If you are going to be processing your jelly for 10 minutes in a boiling water bath canner, you actually do not have to sterilize everything anymore, and it's actually not recommended to boil your flats, your lids for your canning jars. It can actually break down the material, the sealant material on there. It's plastisol, and I guess it can thin it out according to what I've read online. Okay, I think we're there, so we're going to go ahead and turn this down. And we will add the sugar. Oops, sorry, fogging you guys up there. So in goes the 3 cups of sugar. And, you know, it seems like a lot of sugar. It is a lot of sugar, but, you know, when you think about when you're eating jam or jelly, you're not eating very much of it at one time. Maybe a couple of tablespoons. So, there are definitely much healthier things for you, but, you know, this is a treat, and it's got to be better than the stuff at the store. There's no preservatives. You know the ingredients you're putting in. The ball pectin, from what I can tell, is, you know, it's fruit derived, so it's pretty natural product. The juice was 100% apple cider. Granted, it was from the store, but it's 100% juice. There's no corn syrup in here. You're adding 100%, well, I add 100% cane sugar. I always make sure that I almost always buy C&H. That's what's available here. That's 100% cane sugar. It says pure cane sugar on the label, and that's why I buy it, because the store brands and the cheaper brands can be made from genetically modified beets, sugar beets. And I try to stay away from products like that. There's a few things that I use that, you know, are not all natural or organic, but if I can stay away from those products, I try to. So I'm going to go ahead, now that the sugar's dissolved, I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat back up here. And we'll bring it back up to a rolling boil. And at that point, I will come back and show you guys what it looks like. And it smells amazing in here. Like, I wish you guys could smell this. It's so nice. If it's such a small batch, if my family ends up liking this, and a lot of times I sell jam and jelly to my coworkers too. If people end up liking this, I will probably double the batch when I make it. I feel comfortable doing that. A lot of places say don't double your jam or jelly recipes, but with this being such a small batch, I don't think that it would be a problem doubling it. So feel free to do that. It would just take, you know, 12 tablespoons of pectin instead of the 6, or 2 boxes if you still buy it in the box. And then it would use this whole jug of apple cider, because it's 64 fluid ounces, which 4 cups is 32. It's a quart, so this is 2 quarts. So this size apple cider would make a double batch perfectly. You could use the whole container. So I'll come back when this is at a full rolling boil. It's already starting. I better stir it. Alright, we're back to a boil that cannot be stirred down, and we're going to do this for 1 minute, and then the jelly will be ready to ladle into the jars and to process. So I'll just keep you guys on again for another minute here. Hopefully, if I do this more for you guys, I can get some better camera skills down. It's kind of hard to be looking through the screen on the camera on my phone and still functionally make jelly. That's not really my normal. So I'm going to splash it everywhere. That would really hurt. This is like lava, so be very careful when you're doing this. And we're almost there. A few more seconds. Alright, we're at 1 minute, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heat here. So I like to just continue to stir it until it's not really bubbling anymore. You could take it off the heat if you wanted to. I never have a problem with it being like overcooked. I've read a few places that if you overprocess the pectin, it can have a hard time setting, but I feel like having it on that little bit of heat for an extra like 30 seconds or so never really does anything to it. And following the ball directions of putting the pectin into the liquid, boiling it for 1 minute, putting in the sugar, boiling it for 1 minute. I have never not had jelly set up, jelly or jam. Everything has always set up for me. If people have had problems, I would wonder if their recipe didn't have enough sugar content and or acid content. I know both of those are what help pectin set up. So that could be part of the problem if you're having a hard time with your jam or jelly setting up. Apple juice and apple cider are pretty high in acid, so especially store-bought because it's going to be like even. So this recipe didn't call for any extra lemon juice, and I don't think that apple juice or apple cider would need it. Most fruit you can without added acid to it. So I'm going to put my whisk in the sink, and then let's see, just to take the lid off. So there's the jars in there. I just used my little pan today because this is such a small batch. It wasn't really worth getting my big canner out. If I was going to do a double batch, I'd get a much bigger container out. But I'm just going to take the jars out of here, hopefully, maybe. Can't get to them with this in there. I'm just going to take that out with my hand. Set it down over on the side. There we go. So I'm going to take all of these out and set them down. Sorry, my charger cord's in the way. On this black mat here. This is one of the drying mats, like microfiber ones from the Dollar Tree. That's why it looks like it has little fuzzies all over it, because it's microfiber, so they all kind of stick. But they're a little bit thicker than like a kitchen towel, and they're meant for drying dishes, so they're really absorbent. So I really like to use these when I can. So let me get the jars out of the canner, and then I'll show you what we do next. Alright, so there's our jelly, and there's our jars with the funnel in there. Some people do not like to take all the jars out of the canner, fill them, and put them back in the canner. I feel like since I sterilized them beforehand without even needing to anymore according to the new rules, since I sterilized them beforehand, I sterilized the funnel. My jelly's hot, but it's not boiling anymore. I feel fine with taking them out, filling them up, putting the lids on, and putting them in the canner because I am going to process these for 10 minutes. And then usually after the 10 minutes, I turn the heat off and they sit in the hot water for another 5. I've never had a problem with any kind of spoilage, and I don't even always use full sugar jam. Like, I make low sugar jam a lot of the time, and I've never had a jam go bad, ever. So if you want to be extra safe and you want to do them one at a time out of the canner, that's great. I think that that's a great way to go. I just don't prefer that method, and so I do it this way. So we're going to fill these jars up to about a 1/4 inch headspace. The other reason why I like to leave them all out when I am filling them up with the jelly is that if I need to like even out a couple jars, I can do that. Jelly's supposed to be a 1/4 inch headspace, but I've noticed if you do a little more than that, like 1/2 inch, it still seals fine. So, if I feel like I need to even them out so I can get the correct amount of jars, I'll do that. So that's a little bit more headspace than you need, so I'll probably add a little bit more to that one. It's very hard to do this like one-handed looking through the viewfinder, but I'll do another jar just to show you guys. It smells so good. I got a teaspoon out and I tasted just a little bit of it when I, if you want to make sure that your jelly is going to set, you can put a spoon in and see how it sheets off, the cold spoon. This sheeted off, it was setting up on the spoon perfectly, so I'm sure that this will set up nicely. You can also put a little bit on a cold plate, and that's a really good way to test whether it's going to set up or not. So let's take a look at that one. Sorry, cord keeps getting in the way. Yep, that one's a little low too, so I'm going to go back and fix both of these real quick. And then once they're all filled up and I'm going to put the lids on, I'll bring you guys back. So I'm back. This is a really good reason why you should have extra jars prepared. I have never made this recipe before. The recipe states that it makes 4 half pints. I did have that little extra 4-ounce one ready, but then it actually made a whole nother pint. So I had some in the dishwasher, clean, sterilized. I went ahead and put it in the boiling or simmering water for just about 30 seconds, took it out and filled it up. I'm now gonna wipe the rims down. They should be pretty clean, but you always want to wipe the rims of your jars to make sure that nothing is on them so that you get a good seal. A lot of times I just dip in the warm water here, especially for jam and jelly. For meat or soup or chili or something like that that might be kind of greasy, I will use the vinegar water, but just go around the edge, make sure that it's all nice and cleaned off. Try not to tip your jar over, you're doing one hand. And then once you have all of the jars wiped off, you're going to take a lid. Now this water is pretty lukewarm now. My hands are very clean. You can use a jar lifter or a lid lifter if you want the little magnet thing, but now that you don't boil or simmer the lids anymore, I don't really worry about it. You're going to put the ring on fingertip tight, which needs to be a little tighter than I can get it with one hand, and then you're going to load them into your canner. So once I get all the rims wiped off, lids on, tightened down, I will show you putting them into the canner to process for 10 minutes in a boiling water bath. Okay, so lids and rings are all on fingertip tight, so now I will load these into the canner. It's still on simmering right now, it's not boiling, and like I said, actually this isn't even a canner, it's just a pot that has a steaming rack in the bottom. Just a lot easier to bring to a boil than my big canner, and if I need to take a little bit of water out, I will. They just need to be about 1 inch over the top, which is gonna be pushing it for the taller half pint jars, but enough that I feel comfortable that they're submerged all the way. The recommendation is 1 inch or 2, and these will be about 1 inch, so I'm not worried about it. And it looks like I'm going to have to take a little bit of water out, so I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. Alright, so those just barely fit in there actually with that extra jar. I took a little bit of the water out. The tall half pints are about 1 inch covered. They're completely submerged. I'm going to cover it, bring it to a boil, and when it comes to a full boil, I'm going to time it for 10 minutes. I'm going to turn the burner off after 10 minutes, let it sit in there for about 5 minutes, and then I will take them off. And when we get to the point where they've cooled for 5 minutes in the water, I'll bring you guys back and I will show you taking them out of the canner. Here are our jars all processed. They went for 10 minutes in the boiling water bath. They sat for 5. Water's still incredibly hot, but it is time to take them out and set them on the towel. Sometimes when they're tight in here, getting the first one out is the hardest. Maybe I'll cover that guy there. There we go. So there's one. You can see it's this nice, really dark color from all of the spices that are in there. You're just going to set them on your towel so that they can cool. They should start pinging pretty quickly. Show you a little close up there if I can. Nice color. Oh, there went one. I did notice these lids don't pop as loudly as the ball ones do, but they do pop. The old style that was made in China, they did not pop when they sealed, and I bought one box of those a long time ago when I first started canning, the ones made in China, and I had the same experience as everyone else with the lids. Some sealed, some didn't, some buckled. So they either sealed, but they were buckled, or some buckled so badly that they didn't seal. So after that experience, I kind of researched online and saw that, you know, everyone was having the same experience with those Walmart lids. But now that they're made in the USA, I know that, or I've researched and read that Anchor Hawking makes the jars now, the main stain jars that are made in the USA. And I also really like those. The half pints are adorable. They're like little squares. I wish I had one out to show you guys, but I don't right now. But those are really cute. And so I don't know if they make the lids for those or not, or who's manufacturing the lids now. But they are made in the United States. So I feel comfortable using them. Sometimes they have a little ping. Sometimes they don't ping really well, but they seal really nicely. I kind of like that they don't have any writing on the top. You can put your own like decorative sticker or just write on them with a Sharpie if you want, but you don't have to worry about any logos or anything in the way when you do that. There's a little bit left over right there. You can see it gelled really well. So it should have no problems in the jar setting up. Tomorrow morning I will take the rings off and make sure they're all sealed, wash them down, label them, and they'll go in the pantry until it's time to take one out, eat it, or give it away, or whatever I choose to do with them. I had some rolls, and I toasted it in the toaster oven and put some butter and some of the jam, or the jelly, and it is really good. It's like a very sweet version of mulled apple cider, which is really what it is. And with the cutting it with the butter and the bread, though, makes it's really good. So if you guys get a chance, I hope that you make this recipe. Like I said, the recipe comes from Food in Jars. I'll show you the book one more time here. So it's right here, Food in Jars. I got mine at Costco. I don't think that they still have it. I got it a while ago. I'm sure you can find it on Amazon, though. And then the recipe is the mulled cider jelly. And there it is for you guys if you want to write it down real quick. And like I said, I added the 1/4 teaspoon of ground allspice. I think that it tastes amazing, and I hope you guys give it a try. Thanks, bye. Oh, also, if you guys like this and you want me to do more canning videos and or cooking videos, let me know. I do cook a lot. I make a lot from scratch, a lot homemade, so I have a teeny tiny little kitchen, but I manage. So if you guys would like to see more, just let me know. Thanks, bye.